Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, ma. Wait, I can't hear you. Oh, wait, it's coming from my.
Okay.
Hi, Ma.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you? Good
Okay,
morning.
good morning.
Good morning.
I know
Hello,
this is going to be a
Nancy.
great conversation.
How are you?
Great,
Okay.
great, great. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great too. Thank you so
Mhm.
much. I'm glad that finally we get to do this because we've been planning this for a while now. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah.
good.
Thank
Good.
you for including me. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Of course, of
I,
course, of
I
course.
hope we could have gotten the mail to also come in.
Oh,
A
really?
single father to also
That would
come
be good.
I
It
know.
would have
Yes,
bin good
yes.
to hear
I
their
tried.
side
in.
I
of things.
tried, man. I
Mhm.
tried. I tried. I reached out to all of my connections, but
Well, because it's difficult to find a single father.
who is not
Yeah.
who is not super busy and overwhelmed and and who
Mhm.
wants to come and share and talk about their story.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's okay.
I
Maybe
love
this will
what
help.
Miss Kimmy said. It's like I'm yet to find one.
Yeah, that's true.
That could be another conversation too for
It's
another
unheard
day.
of. Maybe you
Yeah.
might find at home, back home, but here in the diaspora, I haven't heard of anyone. Like,
Mm,
honestly.
Even
that's
at home
true.
may be difficult because,
They don't stay single for long, right?
yeah, they
No.
pick up another
They
woman.
find a mother to replace right away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. The joke just went over my head. Okay. All right. Bye bye. I don't know, but just go stay in your room, okay? I've been traveling, so she's a little bit wanting to stay with mommy. Mm?
Oh,
If auntie doesn't want to open the door, we can't let her open the door. You want to go stay in Ari's room? You want to go try first and see if she's going to open the door? Okay. All right. All right. See ya. All right. Bye. Yeah. Anyways, the joke went over my head. It took me a while. My flight back to Oklahoma City was very delayed, so I'm a little too short on sleep. So, but I'm glad to be here.
oh my gosh. You and your traveling. It's
Girl,
amazing. I love it. It's
no, don't. Like this month alone, I'm gonna get on 8 airplanes,
Oof.
and I'll
Oh,
be in 4 countries. Like it sounds very romantic, but it's so stressful. As I'm unpacking a bag, I'm picking up the next one, and then I'm away from my daughter. That's the hardest part.
Wow.
I feel a bit of guilt doing that, but
Mhm.
the streets gotta eat.
mommy cute. Mommy cute. Let's talk about that. Hey,
What's that?
mommy cute.
Oh yes, yeah,
We
mommy.
need to address that.
Yeah, wow. Like, thank God for technology. At least we can do FaceTime and cry over your phone. But anyways, let's just get started. I have included this on the stream um on Facebook, and we're ready to go. I suspect a couple of them might join us, but usually for these live shows, the powerful impact to be when it's recorded and it's uploaded, and I usually get comments after the fact. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, we have a guest on the in the studio. Hello, Mrs. Mary Sakala Mumba. I'm sorry for butchering that initially. Thank you for joining us. All right. Okay, so let's get right into it. Welcome back, everyone. This is Mo. I have not been on the podcast for a bit. We took our break as usual, and we're slowly getting back to it. And as a tradition, I like to start with meaningful conversations to herald the beginning of a new season. And today we'll be having an empowering dialogue on what it is like to navigate challenges and also cultivate resilience by teasing out stories of African single parents, especially moms in the diaspora. If you caught on the early part of this conversation, we made a joke that it's hard to find single dads because they don't stay single for long. We did try to reach out within our network, and we do have powerful network, but we couldn't find a single dad to come balance out the conversation. But we try our best to make sure that it's quite balanced. So in life, we know that every story has its own. We all have our stories, right? And in this special episode, we want to shine a spotlight on courage and determination because we know that being a parent is one thing, being a single parent is another thing, and then being a single parent in a country that is different from the country you grew up, especially with those social fabrics that are somewhat different from your current country, can be quite hard. So prepare to be moved by these stories as they share their own inspiring stories. We're not here to embellish or sensationalize what happened in the marriage. So even though I might ask, but we're not going to dive deep into that. This is not the essence of this conversation. We just want to know what the support is out there, because as we do on this show, we want to see how we can help other people. All right. So joining me today, I have wonderful, wonderful panelists. And Nancy, I would just say maybe you should just do a quick introduction for yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy, like my girl Mo mentioned. I'm the host and creator of Concrete Pastures. I am so honored to be here to share a little bit of my experience as a parent and also as a single parent in the diaspora.
Yes, Nancy is a wonderful podcaster. You should check out her podcast, Concrete Pastures. You can see the backdrop of her name, and she has amazing guest lineup, and she's doing great. Mrs. Seriki.
Yes, okay. My name is Seriki. I'm also a podcast community advocate, for African immigrants in America, especially intergenerational relationship between African immigrant parents and their children. So as a single parent, I thought, this is really a needed conversation within our community. I'm so happy and glad to be here to share my experience and to give advice, for from what I went through as a single parent, so to thank you.
Thank you so much. And I forgot to hit the record button. Thank God for Facebook Live. I should also mention that Mr. Seriki was actually the inspiration behind this episode. We had this conversation many, many months ago, and I was like, you know what, we need to talk more about these issues. All right, thank you both, by the way. So first, I think to get us started, maybe we can just talk about a little bit about how you grew up and what your idea of marriage was going to be like as you were growing up.
So funny.
Well, if you want me to go first, I will go first. Well, back in from the culture we came from, apart from being Africa, in the global world, marriage is held at a very high esteem. Is what is being preached through religious beliefs and value system that is shared all over the world, and especially within African society. I don't want to generalize because it contains 50 something country, 54 countries.
Mm-hmm.
So, but marriage, especially for a woman to stay married, is held at a very high standard, and to raise children in such an environment. So it sometimes dictates how we see ourselves, how we continue to carry ourselves. It dictates how many women tend to, settle into a relationship that is maybe abusive, may not be healthy for them as well as for their children. So that culture and religious aspect has a very powerful impact on how we see ourselves, how we determine our future. So that's just for me to start on that.
Thank you so much. That's so true. The religious aspect of it and the conditioning that, I mean, it had effects of that conditioning on women especially, and how we just take marriage to be the end all be all. Yes, yes, definitely. Nancy?
So I want to start with I was raised by two powerful single parents, my grandmother and my own mother. And marriage for me, I can't tell you that I do have a blueprint of what it was supposed to look like. I know that I wanted to be married, and I really wanted to. I just I like that I was raised by strong women, but I didn't want to be a single parent. I think I fought so hard as to what I saw with my friends, with their parents, how long they were married for. I wanted to experience that for my kids. I wanted to give that to my kids. I wanted to do something different. So marriage for me, I can tell you that I do have a blueprint, because even with my father, he was abusive to his wife, my stepmother, and I didn't like to see that. So that would not even be my blueprint. So for me, I would say it's what I've seen outside of my own family. And whatever example that I had seen, I was like, oh, that looks like a good marriage. But of course, you never know what's going on in people's homes. So I would want to have that. Like, I'll give you an example. When I met my ex-husband, his parents have been together for 30 something years. And that's something that I admired. I still admire to today, because having been married, having been with someone for 15 years, it's hard work. For anybody who's listening to us, being in a relationship, whether married or not, is hard work. So yeah, that's a little bit I can say. I don't necessarily have a blueprint. I wanted to do something different when it comes to marriage.
Thank you both. And I think the commonality is there's a picture you had in your mind. There's also the reality of, your situation. And then you even being able to see the difference that even though, for example, Nancy, you grew up in a family that was a little bit, not, you had your single mom and a single grandma taking care of you, but you knew that, okay, seeing that stability, for example, in your ex-husband's family, you could recognize just what that would look differently for you, and
Yeah.
it was something you wanted. And so thanks for sharing that. Let's just fast forward in time. Maybe just a summary of how, if you could describe what your marriage was like, and I know that divorce is hard, even in the hard parts of it. From what I've heard from my friends, they're still able to think about the good times, right? And the ones that are able to tell their story will always tell it in a balanced way. If they're able to, that is,
Yeah.
because it comes with so much hurt, and it lingers on for a long time. Not just the hurt you think about of how it ended, but also maybe how you think people are now perceiving you, especially if you're African. There's always this, scarlet letter you wear on your head if you're divorced, almost like you're, especially for the women, right? If you could paint a picture of what your marriage was like, how would you paint that picture?
Well, I was never married.
Mm.
My children's father. And I came from the another aspect of it, because maybe from the example of the people around me that I've seen who are married, that I don't quote unquote that this is really not really marriage. Why did you get involved in the relationship in the first place?
Mm.
So for me, my children's father, we met, and we tried to work things out and see how things were before I even say I do.
Mm.
So I didn't come from the traditional way of somebody who actually wants to go forward and say, let me get married. Okay, when we married, we could work things out. I wanted to work things before I say I do. And when those things didn't work out, that both of us needs to work on, and I couldn't raise my children in that kind of atmosphere. Because the welfare of the parents, a mother, or any other part, it may be from a man, it may be from a woman, is very important. And the atmosphere of where you raise your children is also important. Do you want to raise your children in a hostile environment where they don't see any love and understanding, or just like Nancy said, a model of what marriage is supposed to be? You have many children who grew up in a family where both mom and dad were there. When they get older, they don't even want to get married because of what they saw growing up, the trauma that they experienced from their parents growing up. So for me, that question doesn't really, I can't answer too much to that, because
Yeah.
I was working the other way around.
Mm. Thank you. I just want to like dovetail on something you said about how when you realized that it wasn't working, I imagine that was when you decided that, okay, we just have to call this off. And I imagine how many years it was. It's not quite like it is today. And even in today's date, it's still quite hard for women to come to that realization and even act on it, because you have this push and pull factor. What would you say you got your let me just use that word, strength from Sibyl to decide that I have to separate from this person? Because I imagine it wasn't an easy decision, Mr. Seriki.
Yeah, it wasn't an easy decision to actually indicate that I wanted to separate, because mine wasn't much of a physical abuse, because it's much more emotional. And I tried in terms of, okay, let's try and work this out. He came from a home where both of his parents were married. His father was one of, I would say, the first set of Nigerian Airways pilots. Okay, during their time in the 60s. So when you look at a person, you know how the image of a pilot is in Nigeria, whereby they believe they have different women from different places and everything. But the father was always with his own children, with his only one wife, and he was so dedicated person. And looking at that background, you will feel, and I came from a polygamous family where my father has many wives, so looking at that background, you will feel that this is somebody that you could work things out together. But it wasn't something that I could continue to contain. Because like I said before, I have to look out for my welfare emotionally and the welfare of my children also emotionally. So when I found that, maybe my daughter was only 18 months at that time, that I decided that I'm going to separate. Because when we're looking at separation between men and women, we always think it's the man who walk away. That's why if you guys saw on our chat, I sent you 2 videos.
Yeah.
Of 2 African, a Nigerian man who married a Caucasian woman, who said every African man should go and marry a Caucasian before they come back and marry a Nigerian, who will train them on how to be able to, be a provider, not only financially, but also support the household, needs, both physically, emotionally, or any other thing. And I sent you another Nigerian woman who told her husband, you have to leave because I can no longer handle this. So for me at that time, like I said, we were together maybe for like 5 years. It's back and forth struggle with certain things that I felt like, this has to change. And it wasn't a kind of person that hangs out or, do a lot of other issues that many women will associate with, maybe alcoholic, maybe somebody who is carrying other women. It wasn't like that, but I saw certain things that I couldn't put my finger on, and I said, I cannot raise my children in this kind of environment. And we have to talk about a lot of all these things. To the extent I suggested we should go for, couple therapy.
Did he say yes to it?
Yeah, we went for the first one. You know what he did after? When we came out of the therapy the first time, he said, I'm not going back there. Then he ordered me a book. The title of the book stated, How to Deal with Difficult People. So I have to read the book on how to deal with difficult people, because he knew it was difficult. So that
he gave you assignments.
So that I could deal with him. And I said, okay, this is not going anywhere. And I had to make my decision. It belongs to a church. It goes to church. I wasn't a church person. I usually stay home, but I know all the church members and all those other people. And when he act up, he will say, it's the devil. I never knew the understanding of the devil. I thought the devil is something that you could actually grab and say, go away. Because I didn't grow up in a home where they blame everything on the devil. Until I met him, then I understand the devil. How can devil make you do something knowing that it's your behavior, meaning that you're not taking responsibility for your own action? And this is what a lot of religious setting, churches, mosques also preach to many of our community, not taking responsibility for your own action, but just blame it on something else so that you don't need to change. And they will tell you in their church, in churches or mosques, just pray pray for this person to change? How can you pray for somebody to change who is not willing to acknowledge what they have to work on? So as a woman, I said, maybe because I've been here in this country before I decide on, settling down, or maybe because of other people that I saw around me that they are in unhealthy relationship. So since he decided that I have to read a book to actually deal with him, I said I have to take an action. And when I took my action and I said, no, this is normal. Every other person from the church were calling, where he goes to church. Oh, madam, please now, we'll pray, things will work well. I said, if you have a sister who is looking for a husband, you could go ahead and give it to him. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm not willing to raise a grown man when I have to raise my children. What example am I setting? And also, when your children are picking up the kind of words that comes out of the man's mouth and they're saying it, it's having another repercussion. Because one thing with New York, where I am here, I know I'm talking long, if you don't mind, where I'm living here in New York, as a woman, if you are raising children in a house that maybe physical, domestic violence, or emotional abuse is going on, you have to find a way to save those children, because if not,
they'll be in trouble. Yeah.
You'll be in trouble. Those children could be removed from you and place them in a foster home. And I wasn't ready for that. Because like I always tell people, and the people were begging me, I said, listen, I took my time to have my children. And I have to make sure that I raise them in an environment that, even though we may be struggling as a single parent, in an environment that is stable and is loving for them. Yeah. Because their emotional growth is very important to me, rather than having a husband just because of what the society was saying. And he wanted to get married because he asked me, he said, he used to work for KLM Airline. He was one of the managers within KLM. And he used to ask me, just like you were saying that you travel all over the places. And he used to say, when we get married, you could travel all over the world. And many of his church members, when I finally said, I'm not doing this, they said, Madam, do you know how many women will jump up to that opportunity of traveling all over the world? And I said, am I getting married for free tickets so that I could travel all over the world? I'm going to sell my soul for free ticket. Because a lot of us, we tend to do that. We tend to portray this, this image of trying to live, certain lifestyle that is not really, underneath it is a lot of struggling going on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready for that. So that's how I ended it.
Thank you. Wow. I had some follow-up questions, but I'll let Nancy share her story and I'll tie that up together. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Nancy. You're muted, Nancy.
Sorry, my kids are here, so I got.
Oh, that's okay.
I keep muting because they keep coming in and out. But wow, some of what my auntie here has shared is truly some of the things that also transpired in my own relationship. So my story is complicated. I met my my ex very young. We got married very young, and we grew up together. He supported me through my career. I supported him. We took our time to have children, and we were best friends. The fact that we grew up together, we became very best friends, and we're very attached to each other. We were married 7 years before we had our children. So everything was planned to the T. When we had our first child, that's when I saw the challenges that came with uh, being young parents and having a child and being an immigrant. So my perspective of being parents, because this was planned, I was expecting that my partner was going to be on board with the changes that came along. The expectations, again, this is from my perspective, you say something else, is the fact that I'm a career woman, which I was very clear about, and the fact that I'm a mother now. I'm not going to be full-time cooking after work or be paying more attention to him than the child. So for me, it's new to me, being a new parent. I'm by myself. My mom is back home. My whole entire family is back home. I'm here by myself. Thank God for my in-laws. They helped whenever they could because again, we live very busy lives here. They came here and there to help out. But in the times where it was just us three with our child, it was very challenging. It put such a strain on our relationship. We never resolved that problem. It went on until 5 years. We decided to have another child. It's not that I'm saying that we never resolved that problem because I thought it was, we moved past on because afterwards, when we had our second child, it's when everything surfaced. Again, the expectation was my career had grown. The expectation is you're still a mother, you're still a wife, and a career woman. It's very hard to juggle all of that as a career woman. And I'm not saying he didn't support me, he did. What kills a lot of relationships is expectations of the partner. I had different expectations, he had different expectations. And to cut the long story short, was really, we stopped growing together. We were growing in other aspects of building our family, but in terms of our relationship, our marriage. So it was just marriage, no relationship. And we were falling apart. I got busy with um, wanting to live, to have a better life for us. And he got busy with himself. And then I was left to being a career woman and a single parent while married. So I also want to mention that you could be a single parent while with a
Oh, yeah, man.
partner. It's very common everywhere. And we get so caught up. I want to also address that we, as much as my partner supported me, we as immigrants, we get so caught up in building this life that we came to build. And sometimes we do forget our partners in that run. So I would ask for anybody to be conscious as we juggle these careers and our families to find that balance in between that as well. Because as much as I want to blame, I take a lot of ownership as to what I could have done a little bit different in terms of wanting to pursue my career. Because I made it very clear, career oriented. I waited for my children. But once you stop growing, everything else, if you don't have anything in common, because you have to have the baseline, being that if you're not growing as a couple, as a relationship, you're not watering the relationship. You're doing everything else, but you're not watering the relationship. And we fell apart from there. And there were so many things that contributed because after that, everything else contributes. Everything becomes annoying. Whatever was buried is now becomes unburied. We tried therapy for the first time. We went one time together. I begged him so many times, let's go to therapy. He said we can do it together, we can talk. And every time I came out of that talking feeling unheard. Like I was not being heard because I was being talked over and it built up so much stuff. And then when we went to therapy, even the therapist said sometimes it's okay to call it quits. Once she said that, I was like, okay, I wanted to make sure that I had checked up every box or whatever society deems is like, before you walk away, let me make sure, because he's best friends with our daughter. I'm about to take that away because I'm the one filing for divorce. And I couldn't see that for my children. And the situation became very toxic, to say the least. So like Auntie said, you have to see what's best for your children. Relationships are great. I walked away loving the man. It doesn't mean you don't love the person when you walk away. But for me, I wanted what was safe for the children. And also, I wanted a good example for our children, what a relationship should look like. She experienced that in the beginning of, especially my daughter, she experienced that in the beginning of her being with us. But I wanted for that to continue because we could not resolve our issues. They're just getting worse. So I'll end there, and
Thank you for sharing that. That was that was a lot. And I really appreciate both of you being able to balance, what you felt your role was and what your articulation of the problem, right? And I think if we're to run a common thread to what you both said, there's no relationship without its problems. But the moment you realize that the way you're pulling in the marriage, or you like Lancy said, like she became a single parent even while she was married, and even the issue of therapy, of seeking help within our communities, there seems to be this huge reticence for married men, especially, to go seek therapy. So I'd like to maybe talk a little bit on that, about that. Now, we know that therapy might not solve all the issues there, right? But it takes two willing people to be able to see, okay, this is the problem. This is how I contribute to the problem. And this is what my picture of a solution will look like. How can we work together towards an amicable, solution? But if one party is not willing to put in the work, it's going to break. And you can even see that sign coming. So I guess my question is two in one. How can we normalize mental health services, especially therapy, counseling for men in our community? And then what steps, looking back now, is there anything you wish you had done differently to nurture your relationship and prevent that feeling of growing apart?
For me, I'm the only thing that I keep going back to, I think, is having the balance of being a career woman, a mom, and a wife. I wish I had gone to therapy with my partner to be able to be given the tools. Because again, um, being married and being a parent, there's no manuscript. We all go by whatever blueprint we see, we like, or whatever we deem normal. So for me, I think it's just finding that balance and giving more time. But again, on the flip side of that, I would say everybody has a purpose in our lives. So whatever transpired, it was needed to transpire the way it did. Because I'm sure even Auntie Kimmy here can tell you, we're both in better place because of what transpired. It gives you a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no regrets of whatever transpired. So I can offer like what I could have done, which is ownership and growth. But at the end of the day, my partner had the purpose, 15 years of each other. And that was his purpose. And out of that, we have beautiful kids together that we are going to be talking about soon. Yeah.
Well, for
Thank
me,
you, Anson.
thank you so much for that. For me, I wouldn't say because it's so much of what you can try. If you already, as a African woman, talk about, okay, let's go for therapy, whereby is you move it from the community of churches and mosques and family of each part to say, okay, maybe they might have their own agenda and say, okay, we're going to advise you this way. We're going to advise you that way. And you're already seeking to, okay, let's look for another neutral person from outside and let them person come in and help out. And that person was not willing to do it. The more you stay there, the more you self-damage yourself. There's a Yoruba thing that says, many Yoruba musicians, they say, we came to this world individually. And we're going to live individually. So it's not by force. If it's not meant to be, it is not meant to be. And you have to move on because your self-care is much more important for any woman or any man who is listening to this. Your self-care is more important than staying in a marriage that is not working or any relationship that is not working. So for me, I tried as much as I can because first of all, you are in a country whereby there's no other family, even if you have a family member, we're going to talk about that, is limited. And you want to be able to raise your children in an atmosphere where they have their father there or their mother there. But if it's not something that it could be done, you have to make that decision and move on. And that was what I did.
Thank you. Thank you for emphasizing. Again, I think it goes back to individual responsibility for both of you, what you're talking about. And you can try, but again, if the other party is not willing, then they're not willing to put in the work. Wow, these are really tough conversations to have. But I want to just pause it a little bit and thank both of you for being vulnerable and being very forthcoming, despite the difficulty I imagine it comes with talking about situations like this. And for those that are listening, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I would like to honor your questions as well. The next question I would like to ask, so you're both parents as well, and your relationship with your ex-partners is one thing, but having a child or having children by them, it forever links you in a way to that person. So even though they might be out of the picture, they might not necessarily be out of the picture. So how has that been? I read somewhere about a woman who was divorced and had a son, I think. And she later confessed that because the son looked so much like the ex, she could never really get herself to love that child. And maybe the mannerisms the ex had, the child had, and it was always so difficult, that particular child to love. And I want to imagine that's not the case for any of you, because I know you love your kids. You've talked so much about your kids. But how's it been like? Because I also imagine that you will maybe have some relationship with the in-laws as well, because by extension, these children have grandparents. And knowing that you're good people, you want to make sure they're connected to their roots. What are some best practices in maintaining healthy boundaries while dealing with, an ex or their family, given that there are children involved and these children are so innocent, you don't want to drag them into what happened between dad and I didn't work out, doesn't mean dad and you, kind of work out. So I'll start with Ms. Seriki.
Okay, for me, that was about what? My son now is 29, and it was maybe 3 years old then. He and the father, they were very close. Being that his father was a pilot, he was working with KLM. He used to drive his son. They both go to JFK to watch play, fly and land together. But when this situation happened, and one thing I had to do was to make sure that I safeguard my children. So when the situation was happening, I had to make sure that I go to court, because there's certain things that my son was indicating in my son's behavior coming out from the influence from him. And I have to safeguard my children. And I went to court to get order of protection. The order of protection indicate, because this is a person who comes in and out of the country, indicate that, the children cannot be taken out anywhere without the consent of both parents. And because I want him to be part of their life. but I don't want to also be in a situation where my children will be missing. And I know we don't know their whereabouts. And with a lot of issue that has been going on in the household, I have to bring it up like that. So the court actually honored that order of protection, and they were going to give him visitation right, that you could come and see your children because we're living together. So after the separation took place, he had to find a place to stay. And he was telling the court that right now, I'm trying to find a place to stay, and they said, yeah, you could be part of your children's life. You just have to see them through an agency. You come in, you play with your children as much as you want. Then, when you have your place, we're going to send a caseworker to come to your house to see that you have enough bed, everything that the children need. So when they come over to your house, they will be able to, have a comfortable life over there. Maybe you want 3 days visitation, 4 days visitation. And he came out and he said, if the court is going to initiate when I'm going to see my children, when I'm not going to see my children, then I don't need to see them. When they get older, they will know who their father is. But that didn't stop me from not engaging the grandparents, because his parents usually, they come here. When they come, to the extent that Ms. Parents, so rest in peace, they just passed away a few years ago. And it's so sad that both the mom and the dad passed away within 2 months apart of each other. That's how close his mom and dad was when they were alive. So they come to United States, they stay with his sister who lives also here in United States. And I always tell them, the grandfather always asks me, can I come and see my grandchildren? I said, yes, of course. You could always come and see your grandchildren. And they used to come to her house at that time and play with the children. The father was so surprised that I didn't even change my children's last name, because they knew what I was going through. And the man actually told me one day, he said, if I have another son, I will have, the old adage from Nigeria, I will have you marry my other son if I have another son. He said, because I'm not too happy about this. But I assure him that these are your grandchildren. They still connect with you. My son is his father's name. The grandfather's name is the same name as the father's name. And my son's name is the third. He carries both the name of the father. So I have been, so he hasn't. So my son now is going to be 29 this year.
And they haven't heard, when last did he hear from his dad?
When he was 3.5, 4 years old.
Is he still alive? Would you happen to know that?
Yeah, I think he's still alive. He's still alive. I haven't, So because he has sisters, they come here. He has other siblings who, if they want, they contact the kids. Recently his sister, maybe 2 years ago, came to United States and contacted me if I could see the kids. I said, yeah, they are here. You could see them. It's no problem. So they went and visit her. That's one of his sisters. So what can you say?
Wow, it just fell off the face of the earth for you. Like you just didn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. I think in your story, being able to balance advocating for your children, especially when you talked about your son exhibiting some behavior, and also giving an opportunity for them to be connected to kinship, like, through their in-laws and all that. I think that's very hard, because I imagine that from an outsider looking in, they just think, oh, what you did was you barred access to the father, but in looking in, like, no, like she was trying to balance the two things, because this child fathers and their sons, they have that special bond. And that bond can also be manipulated in a way that can start affecting a child behaviorally. So I think the lesson here is that there's a lot more than the eye see, and how a situation might look like in the way you're looking at it from one angle. Imagine if you were to turn around, you might see it in a different angle. So let's be very careful how we just pass judgment or make swift conclusions about things that we don't have the full story for. So
but you know what? I just to clarify that nobody lives your life or walk in your shoe. So you will never going to satisfy everybody. And don't look for support within your community because they already have their mind made up the way they want to think. But you are the one living it. Nobody else is living it for you. And you have to put a blinders on because nobody is walking in your shoe. They don't live in your household.
Thank you. And Nancy, in your case, you alluded to the special, number one, the special bond your in-laws had with one another because you've been married for so long. And also, your husband, you guys were married. You were each other's best friend. Everything was planned. You had a beautiful relationship, and sadly, it didn't work out. So how's it been like for you, especially given that your in-laws are still with you? And I imagine they also, if I recall, they also live not so far from where you live. So there's also that ongoing interaction. Are you able to share just your story with us?
Yes, I just want to share this part also. When we first separated, I've been a single parent now for like I think it's going to be 4 years this year. So I'm new to this. So I'm still in the discover phase of being a single parent. So a lot of the times I just have reference my community, like my auntie here. She's my true reference for a lot of things. So when I first separated, it's when everything hit for me to start healing. And during that time, my daughter was my trigger.
Mm.
And every time, because of they were best friends, they're best friends still, she would want to talk about her dad. I was not interested in all of that. I wanted to forget. I wanted to heal. I didn't want to. The only point that I wanted for myself, I had to be selfish a little bit. The only thing that I wanted was if I brought him up was for me, not her talking about it. And so after fast forward after I healed and I opened up myself to because she never stopped. She would talk about it, but she would see my reactions, so she would pull back. But then I started to welcome it. We with her to talk about him and what's going on. Um, Again, for anybody, actually, I want to share this. You have to give grace to your children and yourself during your healing space because you are both going to be going through this separation at different times. All of us. My ex-husband had his own time. It was during when we were together, and then me separate, and then my daughter later on because she let me have it as to what she was going through herself.
Mm.
Um, on all of this, I have stayed close to my in-laws, and they have been part of all of the birthdays. They have been part of every major event that happens. If there's an event at school, I invite them because we had a good relationship, and they have nothing to do with our marriage. Our marriage was between the two of us, and they are the grandparents of those children. They have been nothing but I can't say anything bad about them, honestly. They to today we still I'll drop off my children for them to see. Now their father is here and there sees them like once a week. He'll see them all twice a week. So he's now part of the community of people who see the children, but still it's not easy. It's not very easy. It's been challenging to actually start this point of him being part of the children because it was 3 years and then now it's been a few months that we've started uh, kind of, it's not, I can't even call it co-parenting. I cannot even call it.
Co-visiting, maybe.
Yes, co-visiting because I'm doing everything. I'm the sole provider
Mm.
and co sole taker, caretaker of them. 24/7.
I want to thank you so much for sharing that. You mentioned about your daughter, and especially in the beginning parts of it, you were going through your own hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and she had that was her dad, and that relationship is sacred,
Yeah.
as when you had with your ex-husband. When did you realize that? My goodness, because I imagine that if I imagine your daughter, I have not met her yet, but kids can be quite very smart. Maybe after a while she stops maybe reading your face and not talk much, but there's so much she wants to express, right? How
Yep.
are you able to remedy that situation? Were you able to give her space to talk about her dad? But you being the mom in the relationship, you could find a way to nurse your own hurt, because I think this is a very key part of that conversation. And I imagine some people are going through that. You want to be there for your child, but you're also hurting because this person this child is talking about has been a sole source of hurt for you. So how were you able to remedy that situation? I guess the question is, how did you heal from that, if you've been able to heal from that?
I had to be intentional with healing, because every time I didn't even know this was happening at first until I realized like she was my trigger. Then I started to talk about her in my therapy sessions. And then my therapist just to tell me, giving me different tools as to, okay, exactly does she say that triggers you? Because it's not everything. It was asking about him. I think that was what was triggering me. And then wanting to talk about him at different times. So that was triggering. But aside from that, it was being intentional with therapy and addressing that in my therapy sessions. I prayed a lot of praying, and I read books that were feeding to my soul. I had to find me. The thing about being married or being in a relationship for a long time, for me, I felt like I lost myself.
Hmm.
The fact that I don't have family here, everything was about him, his family, his friends, because I don't have family. I think if we had our families here, I would have been on both sides. But everything was committed to him and his friends and family. And this is not to his fault. It just happened that way. So I felt like I had lost everything. No friends, and his parents. It took a while for me because it felt uncomfortable to now reach out to them without his son being in my life, even though they wanted to. Trust me, guys, even when I was moving from my old place, they helped me move. They came and packed up all the boxes with me.
Mm.
They came. That's the type of relationship we have. But still, I was without even them. I think they could feel it too. I was just uncomfortable, but they were forcing themselves on me. It's like it's still okay for you to reach out. So with my daughter, through a lot of work, intentional work of wanting to heal and wanting to open up that space, because I was really hurting when I couldn't talk with her about her dad, and knowing the type of relationship that they have.
Yeah, yeah.
They're best friends. They would go on dates. And honestly speaking, even when we were together, I felt left out because of that bond that they have. So for me, I really had to work hard to like almost hurrying up so I can get to the
Catch up.
place
Yeah.
where she is. That's the only thing I can share on that one, because whoever is going through it, just give it time for yourself. There was a lot of blaming there. There was a lot of I cried a lot in terms of why can't I talk about this? Why can't I help my daughter? I in her way she wanted to continue the normalcy that she was used to, but the new normal was different.
Uh, wow. Nancy. Uh, thank you. I think what I've learned from your story is there can be two truths, right? It didn't work with, my ex, but he was a good dad. And I want to honor that, especially for my daughter. And thank you for being vulnerable with that, and sharing the things that worked for you, processing your emotions, therapy, reading books, praying, and giving it time. And so for anyone listening to this, if you're in that situation, know that it gets better. I think just acknowledging that there's a problem here is half of the problem being solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my next question for both of you will be imagery. I want to assume that as women, we go through this cycle, and I know for Mrs. Seriki, because you are matriarchy and you probably process it farther along than most people that are still coming. Like Nancy's journey is fairly new. How did you come to that place of rewriting your image? Like what you think about yourself? I don't care. I'm not asking about other people, what you thought other people thought about you, because that's, we can't fix that. But I think what's important is building ourselves up, especially when we've gone through something as a traumatic life event, like separation from someone who you wanted to do life with. How are you able to rebuild that imagery of yourself, seeing yourself in a new light, seeing yourself as someone that was worthy of love, that was not broken, that was not damaged, that was not used? How did you come to that point of building yourself back up again?
Well, like it was said before by Nancy, you could be in a relationship whereby you're already single parents. So your mind is kind of set up that maybe this is where you're heading towards. And, what I try to look at is that I look at myself and, and see that I have no control of the situation. How can I build the support that I needed? You may not get the support from the community where you come from. You may not get it from family member. But I build the community support network from, co-workers, okay, from community members. I remember when my children, initially they were going to school right here in the Bronx. And my son was so close to his babysitter that took care of him since he was 1 year old.
Wow.
And initially it was the father's name in case of emergency. If they can't get in touch with me, get in touch with the father or the babysitter. So when the father was left out of the picture, I put the babysitter's name. And she said, put my name in case of emergency. When they moved to another school in Manhattan, which is a little bit far away from me, I have co-workers that were like families, okay, from South America, from the Caribbean. I remember this lady, she passed on now, Madie, I will call her, may I so rest in peace. She was from the Caribbean. And she took my son my children as if they are our grandchildren. Every July, she would bake a cake and invite people for my son's birthday. And when it was, when they were going to school in Manhattan, so I asked, I said, Maddie, in case of emergency, can I put she said, yes, put my name down. In case of emergency, if I have to take a taxi there to pick up the kids, I will do that. So you have to build that support. So that's because you could be broken when you realize that you really don't have anybody to help you. Okay, so I use that, and I had to actually prioritize my self-care. Okay, such as exercise and taking breaks sometimes. As a single parent, it's very challenging, and in many ways, I establish, a routine and boundaries, such as, my daily tasks. And I have to set limits for myself as well. And like I said, I ask for help. I stay organized, make sure that I stay organized into what I'm going to do. I have a routine, because without that, a lot of things will break you. And, like I said, when there's a need for professional help, such as therapy, which is, I give you credit for, Nancy. Okay, because we don't talk enough about that within our community. You might think, oh, which therapy am I going to talk to? Because, in our culture, we don't talk to a therapy. You may say, oh, I have my pastor or imam to talk to. Okay, are they really on the interest of how you're going to grow within yourself? Or you're going back to the connection of the culture or the belief system that is not supported to where you are? Or somebody who is going to be praying that, let's pray for this man to come back to your life, whereby they don't know the detriment of what you went through for you to make that initial exit. So those are the things that, I did for myself. That's how I understand your question to be, because I have to develop that strength and resilience for myself and for my children.
Thank you. Thank you. Especially the community members that you highlighted and how they played a role in building you back up again. And I think that's very key. We should not do life alone. And how much more when we've gone through something quite as life-changing as a separation or a divorce. And because we need, and in your cases with children, that was going to be difficult. But I'm glad you're highlighting the importance of support and that you didn't do it alone. So that's really, really beautiful to hear. Thank you so much, Ms. Seriki. How about you, Nancy? Given that this is all still very new to you, and I imagine every day is, there's more grace, being multiplied to you, but it's probably not been a walk in the park. Have been able to build yourself back up again, slowly building yourself back up again?
It's definitely been challenging, being that I had lost trust in people, and I had isolated myself. When I'm going through something, I'm that type of person that wants to deal with it by myself first. So I don't put it on others or react to people from an emotional um, side of me. And I wanted to really work on myself. So through that journey, I've been able to find support as well. The first person that came into my life and my kids' life after separation was my babysitter, who is an angel. Um, it's funny when you start to want to work on yourself, it's amazing how you attract what you are trying to be. So those are the people that are actually coming into my life as to, I want to be a better person. I wanted to go back to connecting with God more. And the young lady that is my babysitter, she actually even takes the kids to church with her. And she's been with in our lives now for the whole time that I've been separated. She's more of a young sister. She's very young. She's more of a young sister. Anytime the kids, we have holidays together, we have birthdays together. So I've been able to lean on my auntie right here because she's been in the spaces where I'm going. Like my daughter, my kids have two separate personalities, as they should. My son is very out there, want to be left alone. My daughter is very emotional, but very loving. So a lot of the times when I don't know how to deal with something, even though I might not discuss it maybe in therapy, I can talk to my auntie, and my auntie has been there. So she would share what she has done when she was going through that time. And it's up to me to make those type of implement some of those things or make some changes, adjustment according to my daughter. Because at the end of the day, when you have support, people will support from where they have been. And it's up to you to implement it to the way that fits you and your child. She's been able to even implement. I was having issues with school. She was telling me, we live in New York, we live in America. There's a lot of racism going on. My daughter is mixed. Someone called her a name out of her own name. I explained that to my auntie, and she explained what she went through, and she suggested all of the different schools that she could go to. I can tell you today the way she's excelling. I never saw
Oh,
that happening. This is a kid that was getting C's at her old school, the government school that's close to our house. I put her in charter school. I don't know how to even equate that to our African standard, wherever it
yeah,
is it
yeah,
was in
yeah,
Africa,
yeah.
to a charter school. It's early, they hold you accountable. It's just their way of curriculum is very different. But she's able to do what she loves. I'm watering her talent, which is dancing, because she loves acting and she wants to be in showbiz. So she's dancing, she's doing soccer, and she's busy all the time. So having a community helps a lot. That's helped me a lot. And even intentionally bringing in guests that will water to me, because the beginning of being a single parent, guys, I felt unworthy. I didn't feel like I was doing anything right. I did um I did myself a disservice, and in the long run I was not showing up as I should for my children. I was not eating well, I was not exercising. I was not giving time for myself. I'll go to work, pick up my kids. I have a whole routine. Pick up my kids, come home, eat their leftovers. They'll eat whatever they eat, and I'll eat their leftovers because I didn't feel like cooking, because the cooking was also attached to my ex, the type of food that we ate. So I didn't want to cook because I didn't know what to eat. We ate almost the same stuff all the time. So I would only eat whatever the kids ate. And I started to do the work, that helped with giving myself a lot of grace, that I was doing great. When I heard the episode for Presenta, which I brought her on purpose to talk
Mm.
about single parenting in the diaspora, she fed into me. It was purposely done just for her to fit into me, and how important community is, and how support and giving yourself grace and giving time. So I started to take myself on dates to go eat without someone pulling my hair as come play with me or doing whatever. I started to give myself that. And a lot of grace as to I'm doing something right, or today is a good day. And my kids have started to see the joy and the transformation of their mother. And my daughter is very vocal. She's 9. She would tell me, she's like, "Oh, mommy, you're so great." So, as much as we don't want the validation from our kids, it feels good to hear. Because I'm in discover phase. I have no idea what I'm doing, except um, from day to day. And I pray to God every day, please guide me on how to parent your people. That's it.
Thank you for sharing that, especially through the steps, and like you with Miss Seriki's stories, the support, and I'm glad you both have each other, and
Yeah.
even the joy you expressed in the situation with your daughter and how that got resolved in her school, and now she's able to thrive. And I imagine as a mom, that's probably one of the best, things you can wish for, that your kids will be doing great, as even as they're trying to find yourself. So thank you both of you for just
No, just to
highlighting.
add also, not to cut
Yeah,
you short,
go
we
ahead,
went
go
to
ahead.
visit my aunt here. She's been begging, come bring the kids. We went to visit her. The connection that she had with the kids, it was so different from the connection that they have with anybody else. And she was able to fit into them, put into them what I am not able to put into them. She loves reading. You see the books behind her,
Hmm.
all of that. She was going over with my daughter. And my son, she could fit into his energy. He couldn't stop. He was all over the place. I have pictures. He was all over the place, all over her house. But the best thing that she also did for me, aside she cared to the kids, she also cared to me. She cooked food for me. She knows that I'm a busy mom. She made 2 jollof big things. Okay. She said, this one, you go put it in your freezer. And this one you guys can eat over the weekend this coming week. That's helpful for me because I don't have times a lot of the times to sit down, cook or make a meal because I get home 6. I wake up at 5 in the morning every single day. And by the time I get home, it's 6. I'm exhausted. I'm a podcaster. There's podcasting I have to release. There's attendance to the kids. Mommy, read a book. Let's play. Let's connect. How was your day? All of those things. And you're mentally exhausted. On top of that, I'm a manager at work. Mentally, I'm usually very exhausted than physically. So I'm grateful for my village that comes together, and I'm very careful who comes around my children. That's the one thing I want to say, because as much as we are alone in the diaspora, you have to be very picky who comes around your children. Not everybody has good intentions.
That's so true. Wow. I'm glad that you have that connection together, and even you highlighting the selectivity in the people you're choosing to have around your kids. So that's good. And yeah, thank you. Thank you both for sharing that. For our audience in the studio, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. Or if you want to ask, you can just raise your hand and I will unmute you to ask your questions. But as we're kind of like, rounding up this conversation, maybe it's a bit too premature for you, Nancy, but I'm still going to ask nonetheless. For Ms. Seriki, starting with you, were there times where you decided to maybe try get into another relationship, and how did that go? If you had any, if you did, how did you prepare yourself to go back out there and put yourself out there? And if not, what was your reasons why and why not? Yeah. And then I'll ask Nancy the same question.
Well, for me, when you are in a country where, in America, raising children as a single parent, even if you are married, is very challenging. You are raising your children in a culture that is quite different from your own. Not only, even the next door neighbor does not share the same value system that you have. And, the global American world in itself had diversity of value system beliefs. And as a parent, I understand I have to cater to the children. And you have to be careful, just like Nancy was saying, who comes around your children. For me, I didn't bother with any other person. Because it's a full-time job to raise children in America. You have to be, really engaged emotionally, physically. Every aspect of your being has to be in order. Because if you are not careful, if you're running after chasing another person, or even in terms of your career, okay, because we all want to, extend our career, it could be challenging because you'll be taking time that is needed for those children off to cater to that other person. So for me, in terms of bringing another person to the household was no. Because you opening your door for maybe abuse. Because if somebody is not part of their family, is not their child, if another man comes in, how am I sure whether that person will really take my children as their own? How am I sure that they will help support my children? So for me, it was not dating. I just stay focused on the family.
How did you cope with, pouring your energy into your children? I'm sure that was a lot of time, but I imagine sometimes you just feel like, oh, I wish I had someone. Did you ever go through those moments? And if you did,
No,
you never did? Wow.
no,
Wow.
no. I don't know. Like I said, I've seen so many relationship within the community that has destroyed. And for me, I'm a very realistic person. Maybe that's what it is for me. I'm a very realistic person. And when I stay focused on doing something, I stay focused on doing it, that thing, 100%. So I knew there's certain sacrifice I have to make. And the welfare of my children is much more important.
Yeah. Thank you. For you, Miss Nancy, I imagine for you it's probably a little bit different. And if you have African moms or even African aunties around you, they might even be saying, "Oh, we're praying for you," blah 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 blah. You're still young. So how are you coping through this, and what has been your experience so far?
Oh my God, no. I mean, so at the point where I am like today, I mean, I'm mentally strong, I'm spiritually strong. I'm grateful for the time that I've been able to connect with my kids and grow with my kids. So now I I'm ready to meet someone, but it's going to be a very long time for them to meet my kids. I want to get to know someone outside of my kids because at the end of the day, me and my kids come as a package. But I don't want to have so many people because when you're dating, I mean, you're trying to figure out whose personality who mush, who's, aligns with your values. And in those times, I don't want to introduce anyone to my children because I want to make sure that I also set a good example for my children as to not introducing them to so many people or a person, and then they have their high hopes as, oh, this is the person in our mother's lives right now. Again, my kids are very young. My daughter is going to be 10 this year, and then my son 5. And yeah, so I'm being very careful. I want to start dating because I believe marriage is beautiful with within that union. It's very beautiful, and there's good people out there. Um, However, I'm also very careful with how I show up in that relationship. My standards are very high now because it's by myself, my kids. My values have to align, really. Must love children. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. And I pray for your desires. I pray that God will honor them, and because
Thank
this is a very delicate, because I mean, even hearing what Ms. Seriki is saying, like her being so careful, prioritizing her children, and it's paid off, but that was a trade-off, because but for you, it's still a desire for you, and I pray that God would honor that and find you someone that will be very compatible for you and will be a healthy environment for your children as well.
And I'm not
Um,
in a rush. That's the
oh yeah,
part.
yeah,
Because a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people that are wanting to approach me, they want right away. I talk about my you have kids. I say yes. Or they want to meet my kids. No, I'm not looking for a father figure because they have their father.
that's their father. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if father figure meaning if they also have their values that are great for my children,
yeah.
but not to take a part of the spot of father in my kids' lives. So it's interesting what's gonna look like. But yeah, I'm interested to see who I meet and how it goes.
So, as Africans, and I know you're Zambian, American, and Mr. Ike is Nigerian. Um, there's some conversations we have about, divorcees, especially the women. There's a way they tend to look at them in a very different way. And even I think there was a video that was trending a while back about tenancy issues in Nigeria, especially Lagos, where some landlords don't even rent out to single women or even single moms because they feel like you're up to no good. How has your experience been like with, especially when you travel back home? How's your experience been like? Has there been, you know, some back talks, and Africans don't even do back talk, tell you in your face. Like, how has the reception been like, with, being a single mom, and how has that been like for you? If you've had any of those run-ins with not so well-meaning people.
People are just interested to know what happened. It's like, what happened? Because we went home together, and people are really interested to know. People who I haven't even spoken to in years, maybe 20 plus years, I haven't spoken to the people. People will call my sisters. Oh, can you give us her number? We want to find out what's going on. I was shocked. This was like literally happened like 2-3 weeks ago. My sister called me. It's like, can you believe this person called me and they want your phone number just to find out how your marriage is going? I'm like, huh? So it's shocking to me. Like people would be interested in that part instead of asking, how are you doing? Um, how is everything? And checking up on you instead of really wanting to know like what happened in the relationship. Um Relationships are relationships. Nobody has it perfect. When they say for
Yeah.
better for worse, for marriages, there's that worst part. Every marriage gets tested. Relationship even too. Like every relationship gets tested. So it's either you make it or you don't. And unfortunately for us single parents, there's a stigma around it for sure. I was very afraid of it when I first separated, and I changed my name on purpose on LinkedIn to just have it as Nancy Siisii without my legal last name.
Yeah.
And a lot of my coworkers, even former coworkers that I've worked with, because I've worked for different organizations, they reached out and asking, "Is like Sissy?" So I'm like, "Yeah, that's my last name." And I was afraid to what was that looking like. But when I took that step, it was giving myself power as to I can explain my story the way I want to without giving you the whole full story of what happened. But there was a lot of stigma even for myself. I'm like, I need to hold on to this last name. I need to not want to explain myself so much because I was afraid to explain myself a lot. And I wanted to start that conversation, but on my own story and tell it the way I want to tell it to people. So yeah, there is a lot of stigma, and single parenting, even getting a place, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard
Yeah.
because it's one income, and the challenges of financing are real. They're very real.
Especially in America.
Yes,
In
especially
New
in the
York.
US of it and in New York. If I tell you how much I pay for things, you'll be like,
Don't tell me. In this
you'll
hyperinflation
be like, oh
inflative
my God.
economy. I
Yeah.
believe you. I believe you. I
So
believe you.
it's that. That's why people, even landlords, are like, I don't know if I should be, renting to this person because we don't know if their income is gonna, sustain them.
Yeah. Yeah. Whew. And what you touched on, and that innate curiosity we have, like when you hear someone passed away, the first thing you want to ask is what happened, or when you hear, and I have to, and I'm like that, but I have to always caution myself. I'm like, hold on, this is what do you want to do with that information? It's just curiosity at best. So I'm always very careful how I just blot it out, because we all want to know, because there's always that picture we see of, you guys were so good together, what happened? God help us. But thank you for for responding to that. Miss Seriki, how about you, ma?
Well, you will know there's a lot of misconception within our community. Even though Nancy went home, I'm always here. One thing that I tend to do is to separate myself from all those negative talk, because it's not, like I said, they don't live in my household. So single parents may be labeled as being westernized within our community. That, oh, they've come to America, now they want to change their way. I see back in Nigeria, I remember I was talking to somebody of reading a book, actually a white woman who is an anthropologist, studied the Yoruba women in, after colonization, when they started family court in Nigeria. And she said the first women who ever went to file for divorce were the Yoruba women in Lagos Island.
Wow. Wow.
So it's not a matter of westernized idea that a woman wants to become single. So then they always, assume that also there's an assumption that there's a lack of parental skill from a woman about raising a children by themselves in America, which a lot of time financially very challenging, emotionally, and inability to, how would you discipline those children? Okay, they always need their father figure in order for them to be disciplined. Discipline does not mean about flogging a child or beating down a child. There's so many creative ways of how you could conduct yourself to discipline your children. And the financial aspect of it is very, very challenging because for me, on one income, I file for child support. My children's father, when we filed for child support, and when we went there to file for the case was filed. They said, this is how much you have to pay. They gave him his portion of what to pay. You have to tender your page stub, tender your financial resources and everything. And then the child support judge, we have to figure out, okay, this is what belongs to you as a single parent from, of what they section that this is what the man has to pay or what the woman has to pay towards the children. And at that time, my children were in private school. My children never went to public school since the time they started school in this country. And they said they're not going to section out private school is optional because the children could go to public school. So they didn't include private school tuition as part of the child support. And they gave him, they gave my children's dad what he has to pay. And they said, how do you want this bill to be paid? I said, do it through collection agency. So if the collection agency don't get it, I don't get it. So it's not going to be, I'll come to your house and give you the money and all that stuff. So they were collecting the money for some time. I'm just giving this story because I think maybe it could be helpful.
Helpful, yeah.
People. So they collected the money for some time. Then he left his job. Okay. And I wasn't getting anything. And I continued to work and do whatever I have to do to maintain. At that time, we're living in 1-bedroom apartment, whereby we have to section everything out. And I said, it's okay. We'll survive. Because I know the sacrifice I'm making is for the betterment of my children and for myself. So they collected the money for some time. Like I said, he left his job. The check stopped. Then he found another job. Then, they collected. And as time goes on, he just stopped working. This is a person who has a master's degree. He's just stopped working. He stopped working at a job whereby maybe he's working off the book or something. So till now, he owes about 200,000 in child support.
Right, probably won't get that money again.
Well, you know what? For me, it's nothing because you know what? I saw the blessing on my children for where they are now. Okay, for every effort that I put in, for them to be where they are now. I saw that God blessing in them. So I'm not worried about that. Yeah. But he has to worry about himself because when his time comes for retirement, we're both close to it. Okay, because of child support, you don't pay for your social security, you don't pay for your retirement. That's left on you to worry about. It's not for me to collect anything from that and say, I'm looking forward to collecting the money back from him. But this is the impact of, being a single parent. And that's why I said, somebody, your mind, your ears, everything has to be together. And you have to stay focused on what you want to do for yourself. So for me, how can we also challenge the stereotype within our community of what a single parent is? Okay, we have to bring that self-awareness of why people choose to be a single parent. And don't place any judgment because you don't live in their shoe. You never walk in their shoe, like I said before, And we have to educate ourselves about the reality of parenting and reflect on the story of, like we're doing here, the diversity of other form of, diverse background who have done it successfully. It may not be an African person. It may be an African American person who were single parents, and you were able to gain wisdom from them. It may be a Caucasian person. It may be an Asian person who somebody could gain that, wisdom from. And we have to, stay, focus on our ability to adapt and to, challenge and provide a loving home for ourselves and our children. That's the most important.
Thank you. Real quick, before I move on to rounding off, I remember there was a time we had a conversation and you realized that your son in particular needed a role model, especially a male figure. Can you talk to us how you were able to help him, get access to a fatherly figure to fill in some of the cracks? Because I know that's not quite applicable to you, Nancy, because your ex-husband is still involved and you have your in-laws as well helping.
So for me, when my son was 13, I took him to, somebody told me about rite of passage, which is being done by Abyssinian Church. Abyssinian Church is one of the oldest African-American church in New York City here. It's been existing for over 100 years. So they have a rite of passage that is based on African tradition, actually Yoruba tradition. And the rite of passage is for both male and female. So I took my son there, and at the age of 13, and he was accepted into the program, which usually for a whole year, and they go every Saturday. And I became part of that community, and they assigned him a mentor who actually happened to be from Togo. And he has been in my son's life. At that time, anytime my son is acting up, I'll call him. I say, your boy started again. And he will talk to him, he will take him out. They do things together. And he's still part of our family. Actually, I'm going to go to his business today in Harlem. He's still part of our family today, he and his wife. And also, I give that credit to that. And also when my son was the high school that he came from, he started in this school in Manhattan from the 4th grade. My son, like I told Nancy, his son is just like my son because very social, very outgoing. I can't even, and your daughter is just like my daughter. Your daughter could hold you emotionally. Okay, if you're not careful psychologically, by the time she finished with that question, you'll fall into a trap. So, and part of some of his schoolmates, their father became like a mentor for him. They are like his advisor. Many times, to the extent I trust them, they advise him, they talk to him, you could go to their house. As long as I know, oh, you are in this social person's house, you are here, you are there. Up till today, those group of his friends and their family are still part of his life. And they are not Nigerians. They are not Africans. They are Caucasians. They are white people. So a lot of time we could look at it that, oh, they don't understand our culture. I don't want my child. No, we're all human beings streaming in. If you want to talk about your culture specifically, focus only on your culture, then you stay in a place
on an island. Yeah.
But when you are in a global world, we all learn from one another. Because the experience you may have went through, an Italian person may have went through the same thing. Okay, a South African may have went through the same thing. So many other people may have went through the same thing that you could gain knowledge and strength from. So that is how I was able to build that community. And the same thing with my daughter at her school, where she graduated from high school she graduated, she has one of our coach who took her like a second mom, or even a high school advisor was a male who also, always listening to her when she wants to talk about things, when she wants to, address certain things. So we just have to connect. That's how I see it.
That is so beautiful, Ms. Seriki. I think the way you shared your story, what I can take from, I took several things from it, is that help can sometimes come from people who don't look like us or who don't have the same experience. We'll have similar experience, but we don't know until we seek those kind of relationships. First, I imagine if I recall, you're Muslim. The Abyssinian church you mentioned, that's another religion, but you saw the utility, especially through the rite of passage program. You signed up, your son, and they got a mentor, and that really helped you. And then even talking about the other Caucasian family and seeing the good that has come from that. And so, yeah, thanks for highlighting the importance of the help can sometimes come from people who don't look like us, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And the connection in being human, that experience is something that should transcend, racial lines and gender and sexuality or even country of origin. Help is help. And I think for a lot of them, for some people that might be listening to this who might have experienced hurts in the past, maybe by opening up to communities, yeah, just a reminder that people who have hurt you is people that will still, not the same kind of people, but you still need to be in a relationship to get that healing. You cannot live alone, especially if you have kids. You have to make sure sometimes you do things that are so out of character for you because you want to model community for them. So please don't give up. Go back out there and seek those healthy relationships. And this is why I wanted to bring, both Nancy and Mr. Seriki on the podcast because, they have similar experiences, but they're also different. And, Nancy's experiences is still fairly relatively newer compared to Mr. Seriki. But at least we can just see what the present would look like and what the future could potentially look like. All in all, that there's hope. And even in the midst of so much pain, there's hope. And so, yeah, I just want to add that. Finally, we didn't have any questions from anyone from the audience, so I'm just going to assume no one has any question at this point because we're about to round off the podcast. But I'd like to give Nancy some few seconds to maybe add some wrapping up comments or thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up. And then I'll pass that on to Ms. Seriki. Nancy, you're muted.
Sorry, guys. The kids
It's
are
okay.
making
We
noise.
understand. We understand. Hello, kids.
Thank God for the good mic.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is that when I first started this journey, it was a very lonely journey. And I am so grateful to where I am today through being intentional to do the work. Being heartbroken is painful for anybody who's going through it right now. But you have to think about your children because their time does not change. It doesn't stop just because you're going through a heartbreak. You have to be intentional in wanting to heal. I'm not saying it's easy, but I want to encourage you to find yourself and in those moments, make sure that you are doing it for yourself, and it's gonna pay off with time. I'm emotionally strong, like I said. Spiritually, I made it intentional that I had to give time to myself. 5 a.m. is for me to connect with God. I have devotion for 1 hour. 6 o'clock, I'm exercising. Part of that was this woman right here. When she told me I go to the gym every day, I'm like, what am I doing? She goes to the gym every day. So I had to get on my routine. I can't give excuses. I want to go to the gym like anybody else, but I exercise in the morning before I go to work.
That's okay.
That gives me a lot of peace. I can show up better for my children. And there's something that exercise does for you. I'm in a happier space. Um, your soul needs that, really. In order for your body to function before your soul goes up to where it came from, you have to make sure that you're maintaining your body and you're spiritually good and physically as well. My children have been my They have been my comforters. I've leaned on them so many times, and don't be afraid to lean on your children. They are stronger than we think. Because a lot of the times we think that they are not strong. They are strong. They have hugged me when I needed a hug. They have been there for me in so many ways that I was shocked to how they showed up, especially my daughter. And I'm forever grateful for this time. I'm able to be a parent that I am today because I have learned how to be a parent. Because when it was two of us, I I was leaning on the other parent to do most of the parenting, really, if I'm being honest. So now I'm the only parent. I'm able to lend my children in and out their personalities, and I'm able to cater to them in the way that I think they want me to cater to them. So I'm grateful for this time with my kids, just me and them, and being a parent to them, and sometimes being a friend to them as well. But it's a great time. Um, it's it's not an easy one, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this time, and thank you for having me on this panel to share my little, you know, experience of being a parent and a single parent.
Apart from little, it's a very powerful story of, of resilience and vulnerability and overcoming all of that. So thank you, Nancy, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today and for all of the gems you dropped. And yeah, thank you. Ms. Seriki.
Well, I just want to thank you for putting this together, first of all. And when we talked about it, and for Nancy also coming in, and like I said, I wish we could have a male perspective in this conversation. So I would just express that the same thing I always do on my podcast regarding intergenerational dialogue between African immigrant parents and their children, to understand that even though you are an immigrant from Africa, and being single parents in America is not only unique to you. You are living in a country with people from different race, culture, religious background, and we all coexisted in America. So you could learn from many people also. So while you take pride in your culture, be open to adapt and compromise ways of seeing things from a different perspective, because we cannot stay in one place. So create your own tradition and ritual and incorporate your cultural elements. It also allow you to have a sense of belongings and continuity, okay? Like I always tell people, we celebrate Thanksgiving in this country. You celebrate Thanksgiving, you're going to make turkey. You could also include it with what? Your traditional,
Jollof rice.
jollof rice or traditional food, So it's so many things we could do, to incorporate that. That allows us to, expand our social network as well. So be open and be flexible to learn new things in a foreign country. Go to theater, take your children out, go to theater. Okay, join a support group. Okay, join dance group. Your daughter, I told Nancy when she came here, my daughter and I, we started Mommy and Me African dance class where there was drumming. And as time goes on, we graduated to another level of dance group within New York here, where my son was also drumming in the same class. And that exposed them to the culture that I couldn't afford to buy tickets to take them to Nigeria to learn. But I was able to find out that in New York here, whereby both of those classes that we took at Harlem School of Art, as well as Arambe dance, they're all African Americans who are doing Senegalese Gambian dance.
Senegalese Gambia.
Yes.
People are enjoying it. You're enjoying it in New York.
Yeah,
So
that's the beauty.
for me, those kind of things is what I expose my children to, because they don't need to me. And I always tell people, your culture is within you. And when you have your culture within you, you will never lose it. Okay. And you have to continue to implement in the environment where you are. So as I always tell many of our people, we just have to connect, we have to branch out to unknown territory on many occasions. So thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you. Real quick, Mr. Eki, tell us about your platform. People can find you, Miss Seriki is our matriarch. She's the glue that holds us together. So tell us about your wonderful, wonderful platform and where you can find you.
Yes, I have a podcast called Pansa Pansa podcast where we talk about uncomfortable dialogue within African immigrant parents and their children. And we're also talking about many of the challenges that we face in this country as an immigrant, because there's so many places where they talk about successful African people, African successful, but what about talking about issues? Because when we start talking about issues, we are bringing awareness to things. There's so many issues that we go through that is so unique. And how can we build a culturally sensitive services for our community? Because when we're not talking about it, we're not aware that, there's certain things that is so sensitive to us that we're not talking about. Recently, I just released 2 episodes about female genital mutilation, whereby I have two women who came in and talk about their experience of genital mutilation. One actually from a genital mutilation ended up for her to have lupus. And she just recently had a lung transplant. How those traumatic childhood experience shed over to her physical health as well as mental health. So those are the kind of dialogue that I'm having on that on Pansa Pansa. It's a lot of challenging conversation that I'm having that is not something that people want to bring out, but we have to bring it out.
Yeah.
Because that's how we could educate our community. And I'm also blogging. I write, about so many other things on pansapasa.org, where I blog about so many issues as well that comes to mind, about African immigrant parents and their children, the relationship, and the experience of growing up in Africa, so many other issues that we don't like to talk about is part of what I discuss through that. I do book review of first generation African children, or even many other people from different communities. I've done a review on a young lady that she's a child of immigrant from China, talking about our own relationship with our children because we have some similarity. And I'm also doing another one soon of a book that I just read about a young man who grew up in Canada, about his own relationship with his parents growing up in Canada from Asian countries. So those are the things that I tend to discuss. So you find me on pansapansa.org and see some of the conversation I'm having there. And I'm also open to many of our children who came to this, who grew up in this country, or they write a book, whether they want to blog about anything. I have a page for them on my website that I post some of their discussion on. So that's where you could find me. So thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you so much. And I've also put your information in the chat and put that on Facebook. I'm also going to add it to the show notes. Yes, please go check out her platform. And if you'd like to be featured on her podcast, you're going to have an amazing time. We've all been there, myself and Nancy, and it was so great. Nancy, how about your platform?
Concrete Pastures is a platform where we highlight these lovely ladies, immigrant stories from all over the world. We want to make sure that we highlight these stories because everybody has a different perspective of what it's like to be an immigrant. When you are back home or whatever country you are in, you have a whole different picture of what it's like, because we have social media, we have whatever we see on TV, and when you come, the reality of it is very different. And all of the amazing guests have made the show what it is by sharing their stories, a little bit of their stories, because hey, we cannot capture people's stories in 1 hour or 2 hours. Also, actually, we are also on getting into refugees as well, because as immigrants, there's different ways of being an immigrant. So I'm actually doing a whole series. There's a lot of immigrants that have traveled all over Africa, all over the world, that I'm highlighting, and it's a lot of work. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I started with Coco, and for anybody who wants to hear that story, just brace yourself for that story. It's 2 hours, but she shares a lot of what a lot of our refugees go through. And it's almost a similar theme. For me as a host, It's a bit exhausting, but I'm in for it, and I'm really passionate about highlighting people's stories, no matter how you ended up in a country. Um, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you guys support because these are amazing people doing amazing things. A lot of them are in Kenya, and a lot of them have actually invited me. There's one that I want to highlight that he invited me to go for a fashion show in Kenya.
Wow.
Um, he's from Congo and he's now in Kenya. He's doing actually a fashion show because he's not letting his circumstances hold him back. So no matter what you go through in life, you can come out of that situation better. And that's what we are trying to highlight. Yes, we go through life. Life is tough. And when if you add on some of these things that people have gone through as a refugee, it's important to encourage others that you can make something out of yourself, even if you're going through what you're going through. And aside from that, we also help integrate immigrants that are coming. For now, only New York. We want to make sure that you integrate the right way and support you in your journey. It's tough. You don't want to do life by yourself. Just the subway itself. Ask my auntie here, you'll be lost. So for anybody coming to New York and you want to have our services, feel free. You have a disposal of me to you for a month, and we help you open up an account. A lot of things they are attached, especially the website that she shared. You can go there and navigate and see what we're able to provide for you. But again, thank you, ladies. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to round up by just saying that this has been quite honestly a very robust conversation. I mean, and all the things I've learned from both of you, the strength that comes from within you, and just how you've been able to make it work despite all the challenges. So as we draw the curtains on this episode, I want to challenge our listeners to carry with us the profound narratives of the resilience and love that has been shared by both Ms. Seriki and Nancy today. The stories of struggles and overcoming stereotypes have really left an indelible mark on me. From Nancy's unwavering devotion to her children, to Ms. Seriki's relentless pursuit of, community support and cultural pride. We've heard it. How they were able to draw strength from this adversity and that beauty of finding your own path amidst the challenges. So I hope that their words were echoing our minds, and that we embrace diversity, like Musariki reminding us that sometimes help can come from people who don't look like us. And at the very end of the day, it's about the human experience. So, but above all, let's also prioritize the well-being of our loved ones, and let's cultivate a world where every family is celebrated and supported, even if they might not look like how our families look like. And yeah, so thank you all so much. Until we meet again, I hope you continue to learn, to grow, to celebrate the resilience that resides within all of us. And have a lovely, lovely weekend.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see
Thank
you all on the other side. Thank you so much.
thank you.
All right. Bye.
Mm.